Good afternoon. We're back with Joseph Lee from Ascending Capital. It's Monday, August 7th. How you doing, Joseph?
Hey, Ben. How's it going? Yeah, doing well. Holding up.
Great. We will go over our top picks from this morning in just a second. Actually, the top three are doing great. It was Amazon, which is up since the pre-market. Then ACHR and Gevo, which are roughly flat since the pre-market. Those are our top three. We'll cover the rest of them. But first, we got to talk ARKK. The impact Tesla may be having on ARKK, Apple, because there is definitely a big drag on risk assets and individual stocks with what's going on with ARKK. And obviously, Apple is an important bellwether to look at as well. So first with ARKK, we've talked about this last week in terms of support levels. So let's just look at these again. One of the key support levels was this candle right here. It was $45.43. That was the previous high before it broke right here on July 11th and took off. So 45.43 broke. And then after 45.43, the next support was the 50-day moving average, which today it tested, went below it. Now, when you're looking at the daily moving averages, what's important, this is really scary and tricky. It's where it closes for the day. It doesn't matter what it does intraday. Okay, this can really throw people off. So I didn't take any action on this. It went below the 50 DMA, but we're holding our breath, and it's back above the 50. So where else can we look for clues in terms of, is this 50-day DMA going to hold? Okay, things I'm going to look at are the VIX, RSI, Tesla, and also our interpretation of the macroeconomic situation. So when you take all of that together, macroeconomically, I don't think anything has changed. We do get CPI later this week, and it is expected to be higher than last month. But all in all, the direction and the theme, I really don't think has changed. Could be wrong, but that's my subjective analysis. So that's one reason why I think this key level will hold, the 50-week moving average. By the way, just really quick, if the 50-week doesn't hold, okay, your next level is $42 at the 20-week moving average, which isn't a ton lower than here. Okay, it's, let's see, 3 divided by 45. It would hurt. It's another 6.7%.
Yeah, definitely it would definitely be painful, but yeah,
it'll be painful. But you know, if you look at where we came from here, over $50, we're already down well over 10% from the highs. 51.33 was the high there on July 19th. The risk reward starts looking really good here at that 50 DMA support with an RSI that's 43. combined with the macroeconomics, which I don't think has changed. But let's take a look at Tesla too, because I think
Yeah, I
Tesla's
just want to say, Ben, we did take some action on this in the fund. We lowered our cost average on some ARKK exposure that we have at around 44.70s, even 44.60s. We managed to add some. So yeah, I think we're holding on to your overall bullish outlook on ARKK, that even though it might be short-term downtrends, overall, yeah, we're looking
So let's look at some other clues. VIX is another clue, and VIX is actually down 4% today. So even though we're seeing this like rush out of ARKK and out of Apple, it's not really a market panic. It's just a rotation. It's just a correction. That's how I view what's going on with ARKK now. But another clue, let's look at Tesla, since it's just a big component of ARKK. Tesla, this is ugly. It's below the 50-day moving average. Now, there were two catalysts today. One was last night. Elon Musk coming and saying, "Hey, I need an MRI for my back and my neck." And this is the part of analysis that most people might dismiss it, but based on my almost 30 years of experience doing this, I think it is actually something that's important, because Tesla has a huge sentiment premium. Why? Because of Elon Musk and nothing else. So even if this MRI or back or spine is not something to say, oh, wow, he may be taken out, it's life-threatening. It's not, but it's a reminder. It's a reminder of what the thesis is with Tesla. And people are reminded, oh my God, his health is not a god, all right? His health could be a factor one day or any day, or we don't know what day something can happen. And that can give some extra fear into the market to take away some of that sentiment premium. So that was catalyst number one last night. Catalyst.
Ben, I have to say, sorry, just on that thing. You're right. I was one of those people that when you mentioned it to me, I was thinking, this isn't really serious. Okay, he just has an MRI. People have MRIs. But I think I just understood what you were feeling, is that it's not that this is life-threatening or that it's terrible or something's terrible going to happen from this MRI. But in general, people have that. They appreciate that it's a reminder. Fragile. Yeah, it's a reminder that Elon is a person like everybody else, and anything could happen. So I hear that. It's a good point. Yeah.
So I do think that played into it now, but today was probably even more overshadowed by the CFO announcing he's going to be leaving, but it's nothing about like an accounting irregularity. So the headline looks daunting, but he's leaving at the end of the year. So he's here another 4.5 months. So I don't think there's anything sinister in that. But anytime an executive leaves, it's usually, unless they hated the executive, it's usually a negative catalyst. So put them together, and now you have Tesla below the 50 DMA, which is concerning. So if you look at where's the next support, we broke this moving average. Now you got to go to candle support. And the candle supports I see right here. It's about 241, 240.70, and then 240.85 are the candle supports. What was the low of the day today? 242.76. Got pretty close. So 241. It doesn't necessarily have to get there, but it could easily get there, 241. And then if you break 241, you have to go to this gap support here at 235. Those are the two levels I'm looking at. Let's just look at the weekly moving averages here, way down here. Yeah, I think I'd look at that 241 first and 235 before really worrying about the 20-week moving average. But Tesla could go down another $5, maybe another $10. That's possible looking at this candle analysis. And the RSI is at 41. It could get more oversold. You see here in the previous trough, the RSI was near 29. So this could happen. It could drop another $5 to $10. And if that happens, you go back to ARKK, you could potentially see ARKK go to that next support at the 20-week moving average of 42. But then again, I think it's all about risk reward, right? And we're at one major support here, so we were buyers here. And I guess if it goes to 42, we may add
more.
We add more. We may add more. So that's the situation with ARKK, and it's important because this ARKK situation really impacts what we do every day. Stock picking, especially on catalysts, on sentiment. It's uncanny how closely ACHR is following ARKK today. Even Overstock, our biggest swing position, really following ARKK very closely. At least it was following ARKK to the penny until like the last half hour or so. It's kind of diverged a little bit, but it is important. And you could have the perfect kind of thesis, but it's I guess, a sentiment factor, right? It's a sentiment factor. If ARKK is going down, other risk assets will go down. So you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
let's look at Apple. Apple, we covered this the morning of earnings, and we didn't short it, but we said stay away because they guided for their revenue to be $2 billion lower than the street estimates for Q3. So, and Apple's not cheap. It's a PE in the 30s. So anyway, here we are at the 20-week moving average, 176.15. What was the low of the day? 177.35. So very similar to ARKK. ARKK and or was it Tesla? Tesla and Apple. Tesla and Apple very, very close to key candle supports after breaching key moving averages. So, and very low RSI. The question is, do we go to touch those candle supports later today, tomorrow? It's definitely possible. But again, here, I would say the risk reward starts getting good as you get down to these levels. We're not in Apple. Look at this RSI, 28.7. When was the last time? Let me go to the daily on here. When was the last time the RSI was this low on Apple? Wow. Did we touch 28 here? Maybe roughly on this day here.
That's crazy. Yeah, look at that.
In September 2022, maybe, but it was not from a big sharp drop like this. Wow, look at this. So, I have to tell you, I don't know that Apple's over. Like, also, if you look historically, that sharp drop here, it kept on going. This drop here, it didn't really mark a bottom. And my concern is the PE is not that low, man. It's really not for a company that's $3 trillion. Like I don't know, not my cup of tea. Okay, can they keep growing? They got to keep innovating. I don't know what's going to happen there, but definitely something that's got to be watched that could impact overall markets. Though on the bright side, QQQ is actually green today, so maybe we don't have to worry about it, but. I'm sure people are looking at it. QQQ, you got 50 DMA support holding up really well. I think this is a good sign, man. 367 there. To see QQQ hold up with Apple taking a nosedive, I think is very positive. So I'm hoping QQQ can hold well above this 50 DMA, and maybe we're close to the end of this little correction. We're down about 12% on ARKK and Apple within 5 days. That's
pretty big, yeah.
And that's the definition of a correction, 10%, so maybe we're there.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our top picks for the day. Amazon was positioned as number one, and it is doing great. It's up 2% near the high of the day. We covered the earnings last week. We're looking for, what was it, 146? I got to switch to the weekly charts here to see it more clearly. There it is. Okay, that's the high candle, 144.60. So 146.57. So yeah, I've always at 144 to 146.57. That's like the near-term swing target on this one. Longer term, I think this can, as I've been saying, can go break that and head into the 156 to 169 range. That might take a couple months to get into that area, 156 to 169 range, but that's my target. Those are my targets on Amazon, and very happy we picked that as a number one pick for the day.
Yeah, looking great. We had some calls that we picked up on Friday that was still in, and those are nicely green now with this move. So looking good there. We also picked up some common shares below 140, so that's nice.
Okay, number 2 and 3 picks we're down on for today, but nice relative strength. ACHR on the pullback. I was already planning on showing this chart. I did. It's actually happened live on the show. I was showing this chart and I was talking about this chart, how every time it pulls back near that 20 DMA, it's a buying opportunity, and you should know the fundamentals and all the catalysts have been driving this up this year. And then during the show, we saw this press release. Recently they got a U.S. Air Force deal. Then today they said the United States Marine Corps shows growing interest as well. So not just the U.S. Air Force, but now the United States Marine Corps. U.S. Air Force is a solid contract. The Marine Corps now showing interest. So we flagged this as, okay, now it's got multiple pillars. Now you got a catalyst on top of this technical pullback, but ARKK has been holding it back. This is another one that's been moving almost penny for penny with ARKK today, but overall it's holding its gains. I like to see relative strength. Look for relative strength today, because then when ARKK rebounds, those stocks, those risk assets showing relative strength will be the ones that are most likely to have sharp moves to the upside.
Yeah, I agree on that. Yeah.
So for today, we're down on that. Okay. And then Gevo was another one. This is higher risk, smaller allocation. Another type of, ARKK stock in terms of a risk asset. This morning they had a press release which is important. It's not the ultimate of ultimate press releases where a company comes and says, we have now accessed enough capital to reach profitability without dilution. That's when you jump on huge. Here they're saying we're getting one step closer to getting a $950 million loan guarantee from the U.S. Department of Energy. Definitely a very positive catalyst. It's continuing to be up here 1%, even though risk assets are really down today. So this is another example of one where I think it's holding its own on this catalyst. And maybe we just got to wait for ARKK to settle in and start rebounding. And then once it does, I think you could see Gevo up significantly, but only for like a short-term trade, couple days, maybe briefly go above it, because again, they didn't get the money yet. So this is more sentiment. It's about the speculation that one day soon they can get this non-dilutive financing, which is going to be really good for the stock. So that's higher risk, both because it's microcap, and higher risk because this money is not yet solidified. It's just one step closer to it. But I do like seeing the relative strength in Gevo today, and I'm thinking that can have some nice moves once ARKK has a green day.
Yeah, and I think on Gevo, at least for me, maybe you have an earlier target, but it's looking like if it does break out, the 180s is a good place to sell.
Maybe
which
there's some
is
candle resistance there. There's some candle resistance, but that 200 DMA would be an obvious first resistance level at
172.
172.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, and that's the 50-week moving average is in the 180s. Yeah, you're right. The 200 DMA comes first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now here's one we're losing on today, PanW. Unfortunately, this one's not working out with it's been down because of the Fortinet sympathy from last week. And then analysts came out, increased the price target today. It's bouncing up, basically got multiple pillars working here. Bouncing off the 20-week moving average with the analyst upgrade, assuming an overreaction of Fortinet last week. What's the high of this candle? It's breaking below the high of this candle here, 217.05. So this one's not working out right now. And we're down on it. And I don't know, we may have to take a loss, or maybe we'll decide to hold for the next ARKK pop possibly. What's this candle right here? 210. I see some support at 210, but it's definitely broken some support levels.
Yeah.
So it could go down to roughly 210 before it bounces. That's possible.
Okay.
That's on PanW. Maybe we'll sell some weekly call options against it.
SMCI, I don't know if you're looking, it's so strong.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, we
love
covered
SMCI. We actually add a little bit. We have a long-term allocation on this. You spoke about it this morning, how we, sold, even though we should have probably held into the whole thing. But I did add some back today.
Oh, nice.
In low 340s to take it up to a full long-term position.
This is really crazy. But yeah, I mean, the price action looks crazy, but fundamentally, you do the math. I mean, we've been saying for a while, this is like $370 to $390 stock, but they have earnings tomorrow after the close, which does introduce some risk into this. But to see how high it goes, it might go to 370. Yeah, I was talking about people don't want to miss another NVIDIA. Remember NVIDIA had that big move before earnings, and then it still exploded anyway. It looks like they're trying to explode it before the earnings because people don't want to miss out after the earnings. So who knows? It might end up being that it gets too high. They already pre-announced the quarter, so we know what the quarter is going to look like. If you want further upside beyond the pre-announcement, it's got to be the guidance gets kicked up even more, which could happen. But
wait, so Ben, you said on SMCI you're looking for, your initial target was what, 370, right?
I always said it was the high 300s. Yeah, like 370 to 390 kind of range.
So I wonder if you were faced with SMCI hitting 370, even 380 before earnings, if you would be tempted to sell.
Yeah, I probably would, or maybe sell some really expensive call options.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, they're going to be super pricey.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, so that's SMCI. I think we skipped something. We were over at Wayfair was the other one. So Wayfair is another one that's been up here like in the top 5 a couple times in the past week, not breaking out today. Got another big upgrade today. So is that an inside candle? Let's see. It looks like it might be an inside candle right now, barely. Yeah, it is an inside candle. Yeah, barely an inside candle. So this consolidating, and hopefully this gets to move bigger once risk assets in ARKK start moving up. I got brain freeze. Where am I? Okay, SABR. Okay, SABR hasn't worked out. We noted this morning. It's working out. It's getting better right now. But SABR had really nice price action, relative strength this morning, which prompted me to insert it there. I don't know if it was number 5 or number 6. It was like maybe 7 was there up near the top of the list. And obviously, it hasn't worked out today. But I think our allocation is mostly a long-term allocation at this point, isn't it?
On SABR, yeah, I think we only have. I think we only have long-term allocation.
All right, so we didn't add any. That's good.
We didn't add any. No.
So we added last week on the earnings report as a long-term allocation. So we just have to kind of wait this out. 6 to 8 target long-term on this one. Looking forward to the 50-week moving average breaking and making a move to the 6 to 8 range based on both fundamentals, the calculation of the recent earnings report, and the technicals, anticipating a 50-week moving average break. Then they have clear candle resistance at $8 and clear also $6. Go once it crosses that and stays above the 50-week moving average. All right. Then we got Genie and DraftKings, which we talked about. We really like the earnings report, but this morning in pre-market, like we didn't give a green light on it because it was up so much. And I was like, it's hard to recommend the stock that was up so much in pre-market. That was the right move. But we did get some of these pullbacks maybe prematurely. This ended up doing a full gap fill, unbelievably, almost
even below. Yeah.
DraftKings also did almost a full gap fill on Friday. I still like both of these companies, DraftKings and Genie, fundamentally, but I guess I'm not sure.
I guess it's pressure.
Yeah. I don't think. Yeah, it's ARKK pressure. I really think it is, but I don't think.
DraftKings is an ARKK stock. I think it's number. I can't remember what number. It's not like a huge one, but it's in there. And Genie is obviously that style and sympathy and all that. So
yeah. I mean, it's algos. You got algos linked like 100,000. It's just so obvious to see that there are many hedge funds out there that are programmatically linking basically probably any non-profitable company to the performance of ARKK, and it's like just tick for tick. So, but in any case, I think DraftKings and Genie really like the reports fundamentally on both of these. Genie basically guiding for an inflection to sustained profitability, which is really nice. So things are looking good there.
Would you recommend DraftKings and Genie for good long-term allocations for people?
I mean, I don't know what time frame you mean by long term, but I like
meaning the next 5 to 10 years.
Oh, that I can't look that far out. Huh? I can't look that far out. But for the next few months, I like, as ARKK recovers here, I think DraftKings and Genie should do very well. Okay. Now Overstock, our biggest swing position, taking it on the chin right now.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Disappointing to see that it's actually not keeping up with ARK as it was earlier today. Now it's actually diverging to the downside. It's fighting to keep the 20 DMA, but man, I got it. In this case, I could be wrong to do this, but I'm going to lean on the fundamental and sentiment and potentially a catalyst analysis or expectation of catalysts to come with our Overstock to say, I'm willing to hold here. Okay, if we break the 20 DMA, let's see what the next support level is. See what the weeklies look like. Weekly has a lot of room down. I don't know, like 30 or something, but all right, let's look at the daily to see if there's any candle support here. Would it be the top of this candle here, this big gap? That gap is 31.34. All right, so I guess, and I bet you a lot of traders are looking for that gap to fill at 31.34. That's a possibility. If we stay below this 20-week moving average, we could go as low as 31.34. But I shared some important information, and I think, is it out in the free part of our app? I don't know if I put it as a free nugget, but you guys can go ahead and check out the StoryTrading app at storytrading.com/app. Let me just put this up here. And there's a way to share due diligence on there, to share what we call nuggets. We have news feeds item in there. You can turn a news feed into a nugget. You can comment on it, rate it, get the community rate on it. I did some research on Overstock, which makes me very bullish in the near to intermediate term and makes me even more convicted of our position. So I'm just going to deal with the pain here, and we're taking it on the chin because this is our largest position. So, and
Yeah,
I don't
that
care.
was
I don't
the
care. I'll take it on the chin.
the further research you're talking about is how it moved up, right? On the app usage or something? It was
The app rankings, yeah. The
app
app
ranking.
rankings are really, really good. Sustained very high app rankings since the Bed Bath & Beyond relaunch, which is going to have a direct impact favorably on revenue for Bed Bath & Beyond in Q3 for Overstock.
Okay.
So I am sticking to my guns here. And if we have to underperform for a while because of our exposure to Overstock, so be it. I got to lean on my analysis, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, sounds good. Looking forward.
All right. So, let's see. All right. So, what I want to cover, there's obviously a million things we could talk about. So, if you have any questions, you can put in the chat. Let me just remind you about earnings tonight. Let's go to our earnings for Monday ER. So, we got Genie. So, today after the close, we have AUGX, HIMS, Lucid, Palantir, SkyT, Assure. That's all today after the close. I have some interest or other in all of these stocks. We know these companies to some extent and potentially in a position to act quickly on earnings tonight or tomorrow morning based on what they report. So those are things we're going to be. Two of them, AUGX and Palantir.
Yeah.
I don't think, are we in HIMS or Assure right now? I don't think we are, right?
No, we're not in HIMS. We're not in Lucid. We're not in Assure.
Yeah, I think it's right to wait on Lucid because it had
Yeah,
bad
I think so
deliveries the other
too.
month. HIMS, I kind of like the risk reward here, but I don't think we have room to have it right now. Okay, so but
Yeah.
we'll be watching all this, and then tomorrow morning, you have these GLB on down, Datadog, LI, NRGV. We don't have positions in
Oh,
any of
Lee
these.
Auto. That's interesting.
Yeah, we don't have positions in any of these, and I don't particularly know these companies too well, but just wanted to bring that to your attention because I know these are more popular stocks that are reporting tomorrow morning. And then we have SMCI after the close Tuesday. So for our VIPs, we'll cover what's come in for Tuesday afternoon. We'll do that at 9 a.m. tomorrow. And hop on over to storytrading.com/app so we can discuss the Monday afternoon earnings with you guys tomorrow morning.
Yeah. What do you think, Ben? Just I know Palantir is a popular stock and it's a big ARKK stock as well, and people follow it. I know we don't play earnings, even though we have a long-term allocation, but we don't play it because it is real. I've seen it, and there was a tweet that I saw. I call it an X. I don't know what it's called these days. That I saw recently about playing earnings. That it's just gambling. You know, you can never know, and it's not what we do. But what would you say? You've been following Palantir. It had an inflection point. I think they flipped to profitability, right? So,
Yep.
what would you? I know you don't like to guess for earnings, but what would you think going into earnings? You think this could have a nice report?
The problem is, what's the price reaction going to be? We've seen here in the past week that you can beat earnings and have a poor price reaction. And the reason for some of these stocks have come up so much. That's the problem. Palantir is an example of a stock that's come up so much, and it has a very rich valuation. It really does. Let's take a look for an example here. So the analyst consensus for 2024 earnings is 24 cents. Okay, so if you take 1765 divided by 24, you're talking about a 73 PE, a 73 PE on 2024 earnings.
Oh my gosh.
So they could have a great report and still kind of disappoint, unless they come out and say, hey, we're now guiding for like 50 cents in 2024, you need something dramatic like that. I think for this thing to, make a big move back towards $20+ in my opinion. But it really does depend on the guidance. It really does depend on the guidance, and that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a big increase over the expectations to see this thing move up big, in my opinion.
Okay, nice. That's great analysis. Thank you.
All right, let's move back real quick to our morning show list and see if there's any comments. Let's check Rumble. Where is our Rumble? Here's Rumble. Don't see any questions in Rumble or comments. Don't think there's anything in YouTube either. Oh, someone actually, as soon as we ended the show, and we saw it late. So get your questions in early if you want to see a stock covered. I think there's some sort of delay too. When you guys type a comment in the chat, we don't get it in our back-end studio here for like, I don't know, it seems like there's at least a 30 to 60-second delay sometimes until we actually see it here. So in the future, you can put it in right at the beginning in terms of what stocks you want covered. Let me just see what this DraftKings is. It doesn't give us a price target right there. I have to check that out. Secures new funding. FFIE. More. Look at that. Oh, Citigroup maintains sell on Palantir. Raises price target to 10. Yeah. See, it's very richly valued, as I'm telling you.
Look at that. Yeah.
They increased the price target from 6 to 10, but it's still a sell just based on valuation. So look at SMCI raising the price target to 400. Ahead of earnings. Supermicro is maintained it by Loop Capital. Also 325. That's the same one. Loop Capital 325 to 400. So SMCI is cheap, very cheap compared to Palantir. It is. So something to consider.
Yeah. Well, okay.
All right. And with that, I'm out of here. Got to get some lunch. And let's just look at Overstock one last time before we go. I see this keep going down. Where are we with the 20? Okay. Yeah. Hard to swallow that the market doesn't see this Bed Bath & Beyond catalyst as something just so huge that it's going to accept this gap fill and do more of a gap and run rather than a gap and fill. It's hard for me to accept that. But, sometimes the market is a little bit behind us. So it looks like it's definitely possible we see 31, 34 before we take off on Overstock. But you never know when that catalyst is going to come. It could be tomorrow. You never know where they come out with a press release and saying first with their numbers and a revenue and everything. So I'm sticking with it. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Thank you so much, Joseph, for joining.
Thank you, Ben. See you guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.